Okay, so upcoming ban list, January 17th, I think. Topic of today, Imperial Order. Should it be banned or should it not?
Should be unlimited
At 3.
at 3.
See, okay, how I feel about it, and we're just gonna express our opinion, obviously. But I personally, let's say if it was unlimited, I would only play 2 copies in any deck I decide to run it in because I don't want to see 3 of it. But I wouldn't mind it at 3. I would actually want it at 3 or semi-limited. Either one would be fine. But I don't think it should be limited or let alone banned. What do you think?
I mean, I think a lot of people initially, if you put it at 3, would run it at 3 just because they think, oh, Imperial Order, that's a pretty good card. But, I mean, how many times have you played against Imperial Order and it, becomes some weird, stalemate game, and then they end up, getting to 600 life points, and then you just kill them?
It's at that point, it's arguably worse than Mystic Mine, because at least with Mystic Mine, you don't take burn damage every single standby phase. And you can...
Yeah. Yeah, Mystic Mine's a better card, I think.
Yeah, it's a lot worse. And it's if you activate one Imperial Order, and then you draw another one, what are you going to do? There's no reason to have 2. And if you hard draw 2 of them, then there's a waste of a card right there. Or if you draw all 3, by God, because I've had that happen with 3 of my own cards. I play Ancient Gears, as a lot of people know, and I've drawn 3 Gear Towns in one hand. What am I going to do with that? So, if you draw more than one Imperial Order, it doesn't make the card any better for you. It's just now you have a useless card because you already have one activated.
It's like drawing in a 3 Nibiru.
Yeah. And then,
what are you going to do? Set both Imperial Order and then activate them both and say, hey, let me take twice as much damage during my standby phase instead of just the normal 700?
And then,
also, there's, a ton of outs to Imperial Order.
Yeah, for sake of argument, some people say, oh, Imperial Order is too broken, it's too powerful, and, you can't activate spell cards, there's almost no way to get rid of it. And that's really not true. There are
spell cards that you can actually use to get rid of it.
Spiritualism.
Twisters, when they first flip it over, you could just chain with a spell to it because chain is resolved backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Or even if you're not able to do that, there's an old card called Spiritualism. It can't be negated. It's just an MST that puts
the card back in their hand.
Yeah, you target a spell or trap and then return it to their hand, and then it can't be negated.
And it's
it's a normal spell.
The activation and it's the activation and the effect can't be negated. So neither of it can be negated. It has to happen. Because
if you're playing a deck that needs spells, there's a solid option for you. If you're super afraid of Imperial Order, and we're not really saying put it at 3 so more people want to play around it. It's not really about that. It's just that there's so many cards that can deal with it that are good. You have decent hand traps like Ghost Ogre. You have Typhoon, which a lot of people don't know about. Typhoon's a normal trap where if your opponent has 2 spell or traps, you can destroy a spell or trap in the field. Activate Typhoon from your hand.
See, but that's the problem though with a lot of decks today, is that they don't want to run traps or they don't want to run anything that is in conflict with their deck list. And I'm not saying this is just the meta sheep, as some people would say. It's not just those people. A lot of people feel that way. They don't want to run other cards. But if you are facing Imperial Order that many times and it bothers you that much, then you need to run those cards. Because I guarantee you, when you go to
Imperial Order or anti-spell fragrance, why are you not running outs to those cards?
And I guarantee you that all the people that usually complain about Imperial Order don't fight Imperial Order every single duel they ever play. I personally have seen Imperial Order used against me one time, and I've been playing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh for 5 years. Like I have never seen Imperial Order be that problematic. People say it's problematic, but is it really though? Does it pop up that much? Like if you think about it, like think about what the card is. Okay, it's a trap card. You activate it. As if it resolves, like if you don't chain to it, it resolves. No spells can be activated. Oh, they can, but they'll be negated. And then every standby phase, you pay 700 life points. Okay, it's not tied to an archetype. It's not searchable. Like there's ways like to search it, I guess, but they're not really viable.
You could use like Lord of the Heavenly Prison to
yeah,
your deck, but that's.
But it's not reliable. You know, it's like so the card itself isn't reliable in getting it since it's a one of. It's not searchable. You have to pray that you draw it. A lot of decks that, like, take my Grand Maju deck that we're going to be making a video on here very soon, I more than likely always banish it. I haven't even played it that often because it gets banished.
If you're using Pot of Desires,
you're
probably not going to draw into it.
There's not a reliable way to get this card in your hand or on the field. Like, it's like you just have to hope you draw it, and it's good if you do. While there are more problematic cards that you can search. Like, take, like, Raigeki, for example. It's also not tied to an archetype or anything like that, like Imperial Order, but there are cards that let you add a spell card from deck to hand or from grave to hand. If you like Foolish Burial Goods it, and then add that spell from graveyard to hand from some other card effect. And then like if you're also trying to get rid of it and you're playing meta, take Virtual World. I forget exactly what it's called, but there's a trap card. It's like Virtual World Gate, like Choo Choo, something like that. I don't know what it's called. Choo Choo, yeah. And it's like if you take 2 virtual cards in your banish zone and like put them back in your deck and shuffle, you can destroy a card on the field. Any card. So just destroy Imperial Order. And there's a lot of meta decks that have ways around it.
There's a monster called Trap Eater. If you haven't heard of that, I'm gonna pull it up. It's a level 4 Dark Tuner Fiend with 1900 attack. It can't be normal summon, and it must be special summoned by sending 1 face-up trap your opponent controls to the grave. If you're really like dealing with like just I guess any trap heavy deck, if you can't play through traps for some reason, if you know you're gonna go second, just I don't know, use your side deck, put in Trap Eater, put in Spiritualism, Typhoon, I don't know, like you should be able to have outs to any situation in your deck. I mean that's just
and then
like that's a basic fundamental of deck building. I mean if you're losing to like a certain like strategy or like a certain card that's prevalent, why would you not have outs to it?
And like before we go to another topic conversation with this, it's just like essentially what you just said. It's like if you are losing to a card that many times to where you need to complain about it so much, because that's what people do. They complain about Imperial Order and other cards. If you're losing to it that much, be prepared for it. And then even if you're dueling someone who's using Imperial Order, it is a one of. So the chances of them consistently drawing it every game of the match is not likely. Sure, it happens. People get lucky. You just randomly draw it. But it's not going to consistently happen.
Yeah.
Like you can't make it happen. There's no way to get it out of your deck besides really drawing it.
I will say it's really funny. I actually, at locals, I think like 3 weeks ago, I was playing Eldritch, so it wasn't game ending for me. It was just like really freaking annoying. He drew into Imperial Order all 3 games of the match we played. I still was able to beat him because like the Eldritch engine, you have cards like Conquistador of the Golden Land to just pop it off the field. And then that allows me to like use my Super Poly and my Eldritch or White Destiny, my Small World or Ready Fusion or whatever that I use in that deck to just like pop off and then OTK. But like I feel like there's more decks than just Eldritch that have in archetype ways to deal with face-up spell or trap cards.
And like another thing about that too is like, okay, like I can't really say much because when I play Ancient Gears, I do rely on spells. I do. Do I need them to play though? No, because I have monster effects that let me search other monsters and stuff, and I can get them out. Like it hurts if I can't use spell cards in Ancient Gears because I have a lot of them.
Yeah,
but
it hurts in a lot of decks.
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily stop Ancient Gears.
Combo decks or
Yeah,
like OTK decks. I mean,
but that's the thing though. Like,
you appreciate spells a lot in those type of decks.
but that's the thing. If you are that spell reliant, you have to have a way to protect your combo. Because if you're just going to go out
Yeah.
there and throw it out there and hope for the best, of course you're going to lose. You have to have a way to prevent things from stopping your combo, which I feel like happens in meta decks a lot. Like you have Infinite Impermanence, you have Solemn Judgment. Like you have things prepared here, and Solemn Judgment would stop Imperial Order on activation. Like, you just do that. But if you're going to have some crazy combo, expect interruptions, expect things to happen. That's the meta right now. So if you're just going out there all willy-nilly and throwing it out there and hoping for the best, of course you're going to get stopped. It doesn't matter if it's Imperial Order or not.
Yeah.
But the problem is it's not just Imperial Order, though. Like, people I know are complaining about Imperial Order right now, saying, oh, it needs to get banned, it needs to get banned, it needs to get banned. But, like, if it doesn't get banned, which I'm pretty sure it probably won't, they're going to forget about it in, like, a month. Like, we saw it happen with Dragoon, we saw it happen with DPE, and so many other cards throughout the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! People complain about it because it's too broken and too problematic for their deck, and then it just, like, doesn't see play. It just disappears to the back burner for a while.
Yeah. Like, it seems like just about everybody and their dog about like 3 months ago were just crying over Dragoon, and now just because you have Destroy Penis Divorcer running around rampant, you don't really see Dragoon much anymore. I guess outside of like Virtual World where you're able to summon it without needing the bricks.
But that's just how the game works, and I think Konami realizes that. It's like when there's a problematic card, or like quote-unquote problematic, because I don't think Imperial Order is, when it's quote-unquote problematic, people complain for a while. They don't like it because it hurts their deck specifically. It doesn't hurt the game, it just hurts their deck. And then it just disappears because they know it's not going to stick around for meta for that long. Like, they know people aren't going to use it. Because, like, let's say they banned Fusion Destiny or something to slow down DPE. Like, sure, DPE is still going to see competitive play, but not nearly as much. Or if they come out with a new card here, like next month or something, DPE might slow down as well. Like, there's plenty of times for these broken cards, quote unquote, to be stopped. Personally, I don't think Imperial Order needs an errata. I don't think it needs to be banned. I would like it to go to semi-limited or unlimited. But I think for that to happen, they should come out with some new cards that provide more, I guess, convenient outs to it, but not so convenient. Like, it's meant to be a broken card. It's meant to shut down a third of the card pool.
Yeah, it's a trap card.
Yeah, it's a trap card.
To be strong.
Like, if they had something like...
I don't think it's strong enough to be worthy of a ban, though.
Right.
I mean, there's other one-ofs in the game right now, like, that are trap cards that I think are just, like, way better. I mean, I don't think it's as good as Macrocosmos.
No, Macrocosmos is a lot worse, because, like, Macrocosmos stops way more decks than Imperial Order, I feel like, because a lot of stuff are graveyard reliant, or you bring things back by effects to get a big board and then link stuff away, or Xyz or Synchro. So if those are all in the banish zone, you're out of luck, you know?
Yeah, you could take the argument in saying that, like, Imperial Order you can put inside of any deck, but I kind of disagree with that because, I mean, you can't, like, what are you gonna do if you use Imperial Order and your deck is 60% spells and, like, you top deck like a spell you really need that would make the difference of an OTK? Yeah, you probably stopped your opponent for a turn, but I mean, you also kind of stopped yourself too. So,
Yeah. I feel like when it comes to deck building, and I am by no means a master deck builder, I feel like if you're making your deck rely too heavily on one type of card, you're setting yourself up for failure. Because, like,
yeah,
you've seen my Grand Maju deck. The people of this channel haven't seen it yet. The video will be coming soon. Shameless plug. But my deck, for not Ancient Gears, Grand Maju at least, relies pretty heavily on trap cards. You've seen how many trap cards are in that deck. And normally, I would say that's a problem. However, because if someone plays Royal Decree, that shuts down like 70% of my deck. Because I don't have an out to it. However, in my side deck, I have every possible way I can to out Royal Decree or something that's going to stop me because I am prepared for it. I know it's not going to happen a lot, which is why it's in the side, but in case it does, I have it. That's the whole point of the side deck.
Yeah, that's why we side deck cards like Nibiru in case we're going against a combo player.
Yeah, so like how is that any
Yeah,
different than Imperial Order, you know?
Yeah.
It's like it's not different. It's like if you are worried about that card, if you are personally scared of a card, no matter what it is, you need to side ways to out that card.
Yeah. Especially if it's like a prevalent card.
Now, the question is
Not
Imperial
like
Order
we're
even prevalent?
asking you to like side deck against something that you lose against that was I don't know what's a super weird card like people don't use. Like we're not asking you to side deck against like Blizzard, like the quick play spell. Like cuz that's not really a card you see played a whole lot. Maybe people should play that card a lot more. That's a different topic though, but like Imperial Order, I mean, you should probably be having an out for that in your deck.
And that's like if it's even prevalent, because like I said, how many decks do you see that actually plays it? You know, like have you like how many decks have you personally seen that play Imperial Order? Like at locals when you go and play.
At locals, I don't know, like 4 or 5, maybe 6,
Yeah.
and like it usually seemed like some people that I've seen. I've seen somebody flip it and it cost them the game because they flipped it. It's so weird. I don't know. Maybe that person was just an idiot.
Now, like
I'm not sure.
I personally have only
It's
seen,
weird.
I personally only seen one deck actually play it, and it's funny because I used it. It was like a Machina deck because they do more monster effects anyway, so they don't need spells really.
It makes sense in that deck.
And it's funny because I used it to beat him. Because what I did with my Grand Maju deck, of course, I have a little bit more of an advantage than other players do because I threw down Inspector Border after he activated Imperial Order. So now I can't activate spells, and neither can he. Oh, we can, but they'll be negated. But now neither of us can do monster effects. So I shut down the rest of his deck because he did the other half for me. So what did I do? I just sat there and waited. He burned himself down to like 1,300 life points, and I went direct for 2K and won. Like, it can cause you to lose just as much as it can cause you to win if you're not careful.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's a floodgate, so it can go in any deck, quote unquote. But, like, how many of these meta decks are you actually going to see run this card to stop other decks if they too rely on spells? Like, it's just not.
Honestly, any floodgate can kind of cost you the game if you flip it.
Yeah.
Because, like, say you're using like there can only be one, or like goes in match. Like, let's just say there can only be one, right? Like you flip it and you built your entire deck around the fact that you're able to use there can only be one. Well, your turn is now over and your opponent's first move is Zombie World. Well, now every card on your field is now a zombie, and you're not running a zombie deck. You're not really able to do a whole lot because now you have to send 4 of the 5 monsters you summoned to the graveyard. So there can be some pretty bad situations with floodgates where it just completely costs you the game. There's even a water deck, right? There's one of the XC monsters in a water deck changes all the monsters on the field to water. So, I mean, if you're using a deck that uses Goes and Match and you go against that, you just kind of lost the game because you played one floodgate.
Now, speaking of floodgates, personally, I think Imperial Order is way low on the list of problematic cards. Like, I think cards that are way more effective and more dangerous in a duel setting is like Macrocosmos, Goes and Match, There Can Only Be One, Evenly Matched, Raigeki. Like, there are so many worse cards to go against than Imperial Order. Like, sure, Imperial Order is annoying, but like we said before, if you've prepared for it, Right now it's only a one of. You get rid of it, it's gone unless they have a way to reset it from the graveyard, or if you banish it, then good luck, you know. Like it's not so problematic in my opinion that it deserves a ban. Like it shouldn't deserve a ban. I don't think it's gonna get hit. I think they're gonna leave it at one and people are just gonna forget about it. Because think about it this way. Since the game came out, it has been banned until like 2017, I think. And since 2017, it's been off the ban list at a one of without really much problematic situations. No one's really complained about it since then until now. So like, why now?
Yeah, I haven't noticed anyone complain about it until like last year.
Yeah.
Like late last year.
And it's been unbanned for 5 years successfully and never had a problem. The problem is, it's not that it's a broken card. It's just too annoying to face because people don't want to run their outs.
It hurts. It hurts a decent amount of the meta right now. But I mean, I think that if you're playing a deck that can't out Imperial Order, like if you lose to like just spell negates or like just trap negates or just monster negates like by themselves, you should probably pick a different deck, yo.
Right, like I think it was like a month ago at our locals, I was playing Ancient Gears because I hadn't finished my.
I would feel bad if I couldn't play the game because I was playing a deck that couldn't out one card.
Well, about a month ago at our locals, I was playing Ancient Gears because I hadn't finished my Grand Maju deck yet. And I can't remember who I was facing, so I couldn't tell you for the life of me who it was. But, or actually no, I think it was the Phantom Knights player, I think. But anyways, I was dueling him, and I lost, but it was not because of the trap card that I'm about to mention. He played Anti-Spell Fragrance, okay? And personally, I think Anti-Spell Fragrance is way more powerful than Imperial Order, and I'll tell you why. I think it's more powerful because, you know, Anti-Spell Fragrance's effect is you have to set a spell card a turn before you activate it. Yeah. So if you have a handful of spells, at least with Imperial Order, you know, you can choose to do other things instead of playing those spells. If you have Anti-Spell Fragrance and you decide to set those spells, they're now taking up your spell and trap card zones, and they can either stop you.
Twin Twister them.
Exactly. So if you just
them off the field.
If you fill them up, now you have no spell and trap card zones, and you're waiting to activate it, or they're more vulnerable to be destroyed because of Twin Twisters, Harpy's Feather Duster, Lightning Storm, anything else to get rid of them, and now you just don't have them at all.
It also kind of tells your opponent, hey, I just set 5 spell cards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Anti-Spell Fragrance is way more powerful. And if Imperial Order does get hit, you're going to see people running that card at 3 of a lot more. For at least the people who are playing Imperial Order, at least. Which, again, I don't think is very many people.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like very many people. Like, especially when I'm playing online. I feel like I see Imperial Order a lot more at locals. Like, in person than I see online on, like, ranked duels. Like,
now,
I feel like it's very rare I see the card online.
Now, like, let's take, for example, okay, like, what is a worthy ban, right? Let's take Pot of Greed, for example. That thing's never going to see the light of day.
Yeah.
Ever. Why? Because you draw 2 cards for free. No cost, no, like, wait 2 turns and draw 2 cards. It is just for free, draw 2 cards. And if you combo that like an Exodia or just like any deck, because that's like I guess you call that a floodgate. You can run it in any deck. Boom, you get 2 extra cards. That's super powerful. So They make other cards like Pot of Desires, banished in cards, Pot of Extravagance, banished 3 or 6. Like, there are so many other things around it because it deserves that. Imperial Order, it also has a weaker version, quote unquote, being anti-spell, but like I said, I think it's more powerful. But you haven't seen so many other printings of cards related to it like you have Pot of Greed. Take Change of Heart, for example. There are plenty of cards in the game now that essentially have replaced it. Like monster effects let you take control of things, like Utopic Draco Future. You have Crackdown, even though you can't attack or activate its effect, you can still take control of it, and et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot more that let you do what that does.
Yeah,
With
triple tactics talent, brain control, mind control.
yeah, but with Imperial Order and Anti-Spell, you don't really see that. Why? Because they aren't so powerful that they deserve other cards to do their job for them. They don't need those other cards to replace them because they aren't that broken. If they were, you would see so many other cards that just stop spell cards like that. Because, I mean, yeah, you have things that negate things, like someone flips over a spell, Solemn Judgment it, boom. But that's different. Anti-Spell and Imperial Order specifically stop the spell cards from happening. But it's not so broken that both of those are limited. And, like, I know that's not as a good argument as we were talking about earlier, like, to where if you're just losing to it, run better outs, or, like, be prepared for it. But, like, I still feel like it's relevant, because usually the cards they throw on the ban list that they're never going to take off, they bring multiples and multiples of other cards that do similar things to replace it, to where people don't care about that card anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I think Utopic Draco Future is a way better card than Change of Heart.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think so. Well, the thing with Utopic Draco Future, it's a lot harder to get a card like that on the field than Change of Heart, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Because Change of Heart does it for free.
It's a better card. Change of Heart just kind of has no cost, right?
Yeah. And you just do it for free right then and there. Same as Pot of Greed.
Yeah, that's why they printed triple tactics talent, though.
Yeah, I mean, what does the future hold for the ban list, though? Like, I really do hope they don't hit Imperial Order, because it doesn't need to. People need to, like, for lack of better words, grow up and throw in outs to their deck, you know? But I hope it either stays limited or goes up to semi-limited, and is in the future they decide to print cards that provide more convenient outs, but not easier outs. Like, they can make things for decks, or just make new decks that let them pop trap cards pretty easily, even though we have some of those already. But make a way to get rid of trap cards easier, because it looks like recently trap cards are kind of coming back. Like, back in, like, GOAT format, trap cards were like the bee's knees. You know, you have Negate Attack, Mirror Force, Magic Cylinder, and everyone was afraid to attack into your opponent because they're like, wait, what if that's a trap? But for the past, like, 10, 15 years, it doesn't really matter. Like, people really haven't played traps that much anymore. Now, as of, like, last year, traps are really coming back. You got Evenly Matched, you got Gozen Match, you got Imperial Order, Drowning Mirror Force, Blazing Mirror Force, Quaking Mirror Force. Like, all these traps are
people playing Solemn
Judgment, Solemn Strike.
Yeah.
Like, all these cards are now being used in meta decks and not meta decks a lot. Like, traps are making a comeback, and I really hope they do, because I love traps. Traps are my favorite cards back in the day. But
yeah, I would love flipping Mirror Force on you.
yeah,
That's cool, man. That was, like, the most fun I've ever had playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Flipping Mirror Force and seeing, like, 4 of your monsters just get obliterated.
And I think the reason that traps are coming back, though, is because for the longest time without traps, the game has been kind of one-sided. Like, yeah, there's duels that go back and forth, but most of the time, the meta right now is, like I told you earlier, who can make a board-breaking board first that you can't play through, so you shut down and you have to lose because you're not playing through this. However, with traps, that makes it a lot different. Because a lot of those negates are usually monster negates, or it's a one-time negate for anything. So if you bait out the negates of other traps, they are completely at your mercy.
Negates. It's either Omni negates or monster negates. That's usually what people set up.
Yeah, but, like, take, like, Dragoon, for example. I think Dragoon stops spells and traps, I think, but it's that one-time negate. And I could be wrong about that, so if I'm wrong, people, please, like, correct me in the chat. But, like, after you bait out that one negate, you know, too bad. Like, it's gone. Like, so if you have 2 traps, it gets around Dragoon, or it gets around something that would stop something. So I feel like it's a really healthy thing for the game that traps are coming back. Like, this is going back.
I think it's really healthy because once you have like a lot of good traps in the game, because like once you have good traps in Yu-Gi-Oh, cards like Forbidden Droplet and Dark Ruler Nomura all of a sudden aren't as powerful.
Right. And it's kind of going back to what Yu-Gi-Oh used to be, because of course it's never going to be the same as like early 2000s and like 1990. It'll never be the same, of course, but it's going back to a state where it is not just, okay, I've made my board, now you make your board, and now let's go through it and see who wins. Now it's, do I attack? Do I even activate? Do I summon this? Because that could be a trap. Like, they could mess up my whole strategy right here. Like, it makes it more strategic again.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows, like, this has been a common thing since the game came out. If you just run a deck full of traps, you're gonna lose. I mean, yeah, it's annoying because they're gonna stop a lot of things that your opponent's doing, but you can't win with a deck full of traps. So even if traps make a huge comeback, which I do think they are, it's not going to be a huge deal. And I think people are just afraid of traps because they remember back in the day losing to like 3 magic cylinders and stuff like that, or like having mirror fours. Like, they remember what it is and have like PTSD, because like I do. I hated that. But it's part of the game, and it was part of the fun. It made the game more fun than just throwing down a board and hoping for the best.
I think it's like super fun when your opponent flips a card like Magical Cylinder and then you lose. It's hilarious.
And then you have to be prepared because like they flip Magic Cylinder, so then you flip Solemn Judgment or something, so you can keep going. But it makes it more strategic again. And like, going back to the topic of this video, like Imperial Order should be banned or not, I say no, because as more traps are being developed and being released, because if you've noticed in a lot of these sets, I've seen a lot of traps. Like Burst of Destiny, Brothers of Legend, tons of traps. But with all these new traps coming out, I feel like they are going to make ways to stop these quote-unquote problematic cards that people are complaining about by using other traps.
Brigade Revolt is probably better than any other trap in the game right now.
Right. So I think if people just like are patient with Konami,
I mean, I think something like that should be like at least limited.
I feel like if people are just patient with Konami, we'll get the answers that we need.
But still,
but like, by no means is Konami like reliable. Like, we know this. Konami makes stupid decisions, but I think they are going to provide ways to get around these problematic cards, and not just Imperial Order. Like Imperial Order, Droplet, Dark Ruler, they're going to have other ways to get around them, even though all of these cards have tons of outs already. Like, I don't think Imperial Order is that big of a deal. And like we said before, wrapping around this conversation, is that if you're losing to a card that many times, prepare to see that card so you can stop that card and not lose to it.
Exactly. I just find it, yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I would love to see any disagreeing comments in the comment section down below. I would love to see what you guys have to say about our opinions.
Yeah, if you've made it this far, let us know, because we're already 33 minutes in. So, like, if you've made it this far, let us know why you disagree if you do. But my biggest issue with the argument of this card should be banned is people say, oh, well, it's broken. It shuts down a third of the entire card pool. And Magic cards, or spell cards, are arguably the most popular card in the game. Like, they're used a lot. But they're like, oh, it's so broken, it stops everything. Well, if you're going against someone, like if you're the person that's complaining about Imperial Order, but you're the person playing the deck that has like 3 Omni Negates and 5 normal negates, plus trap cards as well, why are you complaining? Because you're about to stop your opponent's next 2 turns with no problem. Like, it's not a huge deal, because like, yeah, I understand you can't play your spell cards. But if you're stopping someone from doing anything on their turn, you're going to sit there and like laugh inside your mind about it. Like, this guy can't do anything. Why are you complaining? Because that's the exact same thing. It's toxic. Because like you can't tell me people don't do that. People play like the whole meta right now is negates.
Yeah.
They like stopping things. So why are you complaining about a card that stops things?
It's negate and destroy. Destroy, negate, destroy.
And it's funny because you know what would work is because people play this card. It's used a lot. Infinite Impermanence. Set Infinite Impermanence in the same row as Imperial Order. And your next turn, activate it. Negate Imperial Order. Use a spell card and destroy it. Or do your combo. Like, people play Infinite Impermanence a lot, and you can't tell me that they don't. And that's an easy way to get around it right there.
Yeah, I mean, Imperm's like a really good like side card if you can't, or if you just don't want to put that in your main. I mean, that's another good option too. There's a lot of great options.
Yeah, it's like I think people are complaining because they say there are no options or there's not enough options, but like there really is.
Yeah, there's over what 10,000 cards in the game,
Yeah.
and there's probably at least 20 outs to Imperial Order that I can think of off the top of my head.
It's just I don't know, man. I think it's just the same thing that happens every time a card releases, like how we were talking about earlier with Dragoon. People are gonna complain, they'll get over it, it'll disappear, and it won't be used as much. And the problem is, take Dragoon for example. Dragoon was used in a good chunk of decks when it was really hot. People would run Red Eyes Fusion.
Used in like anything that can
Yeah.
summon two monsters in a turn.
They would do Verte and Red Eyes Fusion. Boom. Now any deck plays Dragoon. But with Imperial Order, that's not the case. Not everyone's running Imperial Order because it's so broken. And people forgot about Dragoon, essentially. Like, say if they ban DPE, and I'm only mentioning DPE and Dragoon because those are like two really like hot button topics right now, is if they banned DPE or made it harder to get DPE out, like sure, people are going to go back to Dragoon, but it's not going to be anywhere near as much as it was before. It's not going to...
Let someone kill themselves on Imperial Order before. If you have exactly 700 life points, you have to pay it.
Yeah, because it's not optional.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you have to hope you have less, that way it destroys itself.
Yeah.
But
I think it's hilarious.
we should probably call this video here, though, because we're getting close to 40 minutes.
Oh, wow. We've been talking for that long.
Yeah, it's just... Me and Max here have very strong opinions about Imperial Order, and they're pretty controversial since a lot of people say it should be banned. But let us know what you think in the comments if you made it to the end. If you disagree with us, tell us why, because we would both like to know. We're not going to like call you out and be like, oh, well, you can keep your wrong opinion. You know?
Yeah, try not to argue with each other.
Yeah.
We just want to discuss and see your side of things.
If you
disagree, or even if you do disagree, let us know why you agree. If you have a different opinion than us, or a different reason why you agree.
Yeah, basically, if you agree or disagree, put it in the comments, but don't be looking for other comments to like throw hate on, and don't be looking to throw hate on us if you disagree, because I know it's a card game, and there are
That's
people.
Weird, yo.
Yeah. It's a card game. People get mad at stuff like that all the time, so like, please avoid doing that. If you disagree, just simply tell us why, and that's fine. We're not gonna throw hate on you if you disagree with us. But I don't know. This is a cool video. I wouldn't mind talking about other cards like this.
Yeah, me too.
If you guys agree or disagree, let us know. If you want us to do more of these, let us know. We still usually just post our deck lists and stuff like that and card openings, but I guess we'll see what happens on January 17th. I personally predict it's not going to get hit. So if I'm right, we'll figure it out. But
I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't have any predictions. I think
you kind of stay in neutral.
Yeah.
You kind of stay in neutral about it.
Yeah, I don't know what Konami's gonna do.
And to be fair, no one ever does. Konami makes stupid decisions all the time.
Yeah, I hate to agree with that, but yeah, that's true.
So I don't know. We'll see. The ban list at the time of this video is only 6 days away. So we'll see what happens. But you guys have a good one.
Have a good one.